Today I'm going to show you how to use Google Slides to create animations. We are going to take images and cartoons and photos and transparent images and PNGs, and we're going to use those things to create almost like a cartoon in our Google Slides. And we're going to create something that's really, really awesome, and it's going to look like this. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But first, we're going to go in and we're going to look at frame rate so that you have a better understanding of how all of this works. So we're going to start off by looking at this 1 second of video footage. This is a 1 second clip from a Shamrock shoutout. And when I play this footage, it looks like this. That's 1 second. Okay? 1 second of video footage right there. Now, we're going to look at frame rate, and frame rate is essentially how many frames per second. And a frame is almost like a photograph. So if you look right here, I move my cursor to the front, and then I basically start as 0, okay? And when I move to the right on my arrow keys, now I'm at 1, 2, 3, and notice that each of those frames is like a photograph, and it's me moving. You'll see that I'm at 5, 6, and my hands are moving. And so essentially what the camera does is it almost takes like a photograph per second. And what the camera does is it puts those frames together, and that's how you create a movie, okay? I'm shooting at 30 frames per second. So when I go through and I click all the way over here, I'm gonna get all the way to 30, 28, 29, and when I go to 30, it's gonna go to a new second, because that's how many frames per second I have. I have 30 frames in 1 second of video footage. So individually, each frame looks like this. Okay? However, when I play it, it comes together. The more frames per second that you have, the smoother your video footage will be. If you look at some of those super slow motion videos where they put the rubber bands around a watermelon and then it explodes, those frames per second are extremely high. They might have upwards of 200 photos or 200 frames in each individual second. When we shoot slow motion at school, we go about 60 frames per second. So the more frames per second, the smoother your footage is going to be. Why is that all important? Well, let's check it out. When we do our animation, it's going to be important for us to have as many frames per second as possible to make it look smooth. If I just have 1 frame per second, that means that in that 1 second, nothing is happening and nothing is changing. So we're gonna try and make our animation to be at the very least 10 or 15 frames per second. And I want you to do 5 seconds of animation. So that means you're gonna need to make anywhere from 50 to 75 frames of your animation. Now, that might sound like it's really intense. However, we have some really important key commands that we're going to use that are going to make this a lot easier for us. All right, so let's get started. The first step we're gonna do is we're gonna get a background. And I'm gonna go ahead right here and I'm gonna click on this background where it says change background. And I'm going to go to choose image. Now I'm going to go to Google image search, and I want to look for a cartoon meadow. Boom, look at that, that's beautiful. Cartoon meadow. I just click insert, I click done, and now I have my cartoon meadow. And so then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some text, and I want this to be called A New Rainy Day by Mr. Dix. Now, I can do all the cool things. I can go ahead and I can change my size. I can change where this is adjusted. I'm gonna add some capital letters here. Oh my goodness, former language arts teacher, not capitalizing things. I want my font to be something cooler than Arial. Arial's fine, but it's good for like Word documents. I really like Amatic. Now, cool thing about Google Slides is as I move them around, you'll notice that there's a red line right here. That red line shows me where the middle is. And if I go right here, I'll eventually get a red line halfway there as well in the middle of the screen. So now when I have my X that shows me that this is in the very middle of my screen. I want it to eventually get to the middle of my screen, but I don't want it to be there yet. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually start up here, and I want it to be barely visible on the screen, okay? So next thing I'm gonna do now is when I come over here, if I'm on a MacBook, I'm gonna hold down Command D. If I'm on a Chromebook, I'm gonna hold down Control D. And what that does is it duplicates, okay? So now I'm just gonna take this and I'm just gonna move it a little bit. Just like when we looked at my video, I'm just gonna have it move a little bit. So now you can see that it just does that, right? It's just dropping a little bit. So now I'm gonna do Command D again. And I want in 1 second, I want this to get all the way down to the middle. So I'm gonna come over here, drag it down. And so when I look at this now, my rainy day starts right here, and as it comes down, my rainy day title drops right there. And I'm gonna just do it a little bit more because I want it to get all the way to the middle. There we go. I like that right there. So now I have, when I just click real quick, you see that my title drops from the top all the way down to the middle. Now my next image, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that, and I'm going to delete this title. And now I'm going to have my rain cloud show up. So there's a couple different things I can do. Once again, I can go up here to insert, and I can go to shape, and I can see if there's a rain cloud shape that I could use. It looks like there might be, so I can drag that. Now I can come over here and I can change the color of them. I'm gonna make it really dark and gray. Okay, so I have that image, and then let's go ahead and go Command C and Command V, and that duplicates the image, okay? Now, cool thing I can do here, I'm gonna duplicate all these images. The cool thing I can do here is if I go and click on this middle one, I can go to Arrange, and I can change the order. So this basically means that this cloud right here, I want to be all the way in the front. And now notice that this cloud is in front of these two other clouds. I can also click on this and I can go Arrange, Order, and send it back, and now it's behind the two other clouds. I think I want this middle one in front of the other ones. Okay, so now notice that when I go ahead and I click down, that's just gonna show up out of nowhere. So I'm gonna have my first clip just be the clouds, and I'm gonna go Command D again. And the next thing I want is I want some raindrops to start forming. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna insert, and I can go to image, and I can search the web, and I can go ahead and just do cartoon raindrop. Let's see if they got that. Cartoon raindrop. Let's see if that works. Boom. All right, I love that. Now I can go ahead and click up in this corner and resize it. I'm gonna make it a lot smaller. Okay. And so I want this one to come out of the cloud, and then I'm gonna just copy and paste this a bunch so that I have them all in different areas. All right, sweet. So I have all of those, okay? Now, when we look at this, I can go back. Those raindrops are just gonna show up. So now I'm gonna go Command D, and I'm just gonna move all of these just a little bit. All right, so now I'm gonna go Command D. Those ones I moved individually. This one, what I'm going to do is I can just click on each one of these and hold down Shift, and now it's gonna highlight all my raindrops, and then I just take one of my raindrops, move it down a little bit. That makes it so much easier. So click on my slide again, Command D, and I'm just gonna click on all of these raindrops, and then I'm gonna move them down just a little bit. Now, I also want new raindrops to start forming up here. So I'm gonna have some new raindrops come up here. The other thing I can do is I can actually click and drag and highlight all of them and then move them down that way too. And I'm not gonna have any more rain after this because I wanna do my next thing. So I'm gonna do all this. Just a reminder, the more slides you have, the smoother your footage is going to look and the better your footage is going to look. Now I have some of these that are gonna start disappearing. Move down. All right. So I'm gonna have this one disappear, this one disappear. I'm gonna move all these down again. I'm at 35 different slides right now, so if I was going at about 10 slides per second, my video clip would be about 3.5 seconds long. So it would look like this. Boom. Now my next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and insert image, and I'm gonna go search the web, and I want a cartoon flower. So maybe this cartoon flower would be cool. Maybe I'll have both of them. Oh, I don't like this one because it's at the white background. So I'm gonna get rid of that one. I'm gonna keep this one though, and I'm gonna make it nice and small. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go Command D, and the next thing I'm gonna have happen is I'm gonna go to Insert Image, and I'm gonna look up from the web, I'm gonna look up Cartoon Sun. So I got Cartoon Sun, I'm gonna click on this one, and I'm gonna insert it. Here's what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make it nice and small, and I'm gonna put it right here, just so that you can't see it in my clouds, okay? Now I'm gonna go back to our arrange function, go to order, and I'm gonna send it to the back. Now I'm gonna go Command D, and I'm just gonna move all of these clouds just a little bit. So I'm at about 63 frames. So let's look at this, what it looks like here. I can just go down. Boom, there's my clip. 63 frames right there. I can add more if I wanted to, but that's essentially my little animation. So once I have all my clips, I'm gonna go File, and I'm going to go to Publish to the Web. I'm gonna have this go every second. And what that basically means, it's going to advance the slides every second. I'm gonna start the slideshow as soon as the player loads. I'm gonna restart the slideshow after the last slide, and I'm gonna press Publish. Am I sure I want to publish this section? Yep, okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and copy that, and then I'm going to go to paste. Now when I do that, see how there's 1,000 at the end of this? What I'm going to do right here is I'm going to go from 1,000, and I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to go from 0. 1,000 means 1 slide per second. If I go just 100, that's 10 slides per second. And if I click OK, here's what it looks like. There's my animation. Pretty sweet, huh? So that's what you're gonna do. You're going to create an animation, and when you're done, you're just gonna turn in your slides, and then I'm gonna be able to watch your animation. Sweet.